Do you guys actually climb trees, or do you just come here for lunch?
Wait a minute, let me get my hair right. Let me get my hair right. Go ahead.
Should I zoom in? Yeah, there we go. Oh, perfect. Look at all this. There's tree climbing stuff there, along with all the wood cutting tools. This is like the man cave.
Yeah, I'm here all the time.
Yeah, this is living here.
And yesterday I built a big
What I do
steamer.
find with this RopeMaster is sometimes the ascenders don't grab on it very well. I don't know, it's just got a really tight jacket. This is escalator. This is, I think, probably the most static of all of them.
How is it for tying in the...
It's actually pretty supple, but once you go down on it, it turns stiff. You can practically stand it up on its tail.
Really?
Yeah. This is poison ivy. It's a real popular double braid. It stays really soft and supple the whole time, a little bit stretchy.
Isn't the poison ivy a 16 strand?
The one nice thing about a splice rather than a sonai is you can get the cambium saber over that. But I do prefer a sonai rather than a splice die. See how much, look at how much room a splice takes a bunch, and it probably tails off into here someplace. And I don't like to bind that up too much, even that. And a sonai is just that much. It's much more compact. Yeah. And this is the 11mm platinum. And when you use this, it's really weird because it does not like to twist. And I realize when you tie knots, that twist, you like that twist. This is poison ivy. It's a real popular double braid.
All right.
All right.
And we'll try it and compare.
And I'll bet you this is the most static of all.
Good grief.
There'll be a section, and this is a soft section. If I pull that out,
Stiffy already.
Yeah. Can I?
Alright, Judy's climbing on a Unicender, and the Unicender, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it's a great device because it's so easy to attach midline. The other great thing about it is that it's like a rope grab, except that you can disengage it easily for the descent. It's also very compact. The thing about a frog walker, most of the time, like I said, you'll use a chest harness and then a hand ascender. Hand ascenders work great, and the Unicender works almost like a hand ascender because it's so compact. The way that we use this is she'll have a primary hand holding onto the Unicender all the time. The other hand can either be backing up on the Unicender, or it can be above the Unicender, used with caution above the Unicender, but you're using this basically as a hand ascender. The other point of contact is with the foot ascender. This is the life support. The foot ascender is not the life support. Some people like to have 2 points of contact or 2 life support connections when you're going up SRT. Doesn't really work all the time. If you use a rope winch, you're using basically 1 friction hitch. There is a way if you want. If you're uncomfortable, there's an easy way to back this up. And there is one time when you'd want to back this up. If you're going up a tall tree that's got kind of an obscured canopy, and you're not sure, sometimes if you get a hanger that slides down your rope, a limb breaks out, slides down your rope, hits the top of your Unicender, you're probably going to go for a ride, or at least you're going to bind up with your foot ascender and be uncomfortable. One thing you can do, the Unicender is also set up for DdRT. It has the hole on the top where you can connect for DdRT. What you can do is put another friction hitch above this. And so that friction hitch will get pushed up as you push the Unicender up, making 2 life support. You're still going through the same connection, but the connection's not the concern. So you do have 2 points of contact, and if a limb did break out and fork down the rope, it's probably going to hit the unisender, but it won't catch on the friction hitch. The other thing, and we'll talk about this when it comes to descent for backing up the unisender, is you can put another prusik on the side D. That way, if you ever let go of the unisender, you won't continue to let go down. There's a whole other discussion about when you're using the unisender. How many have used the unisender before? So you know that it's a rope grab, and the way that you make it go into the descent mode when you're on SRT is you bring your line up and over the top. It compresses all those clutches together, and then you're basically coming down just like you would be on a figure eight. Now, if you don't maintain control of this, it may or may not continue down the rope. So when you bring this up over the top, you're like a figure eight. It's got friction. It's really nice and smooth. Pardon?
Coming down on a Blake's hitch?
Yeah, it'd be like coming down on a Blake's hitch. You've turned it into the descent mode by bringing those together. And Judy will demonstrate that. So the sequence with this, the way that it's set up is she'll take a step. She takes a step with her foot ascender, and then lifts the other foot, and this will engage on every step. So it's on a lot of rope walking systems. Your main ascension device is basically passive. It sits here on your harness, and it's passive through the whole ascent. With this, it's not passive. You're actually using it for every step. Every time you take a step with her left foot, this is going to engage. And the reason it engages is because it's connected to her left foot through a foot loop. This is a adjustable foot loop. It can be adjusted with one hand, and that goes to her left foot. So she has her foot ascender on her right foot, and the foot loop on her left foot is connected directly to the unisender. So as she's walking up, this is being engaged on each step, and this is an ABR tether. There's other ways to make a tether. This is an ABR tether, and it is also very adjustable. And the reason you need to have adjustment is because we all take different size steps. And the way you adjust the size of steps that you take is by adjusting this tether and also adjusting the foot loop.
Where do you get? Is it a whoopee? Is that a whoopee?
Yeah, it's like a whoopee sling, but it's actually designed for the unisender. When it's girth hitched onto the unisender this way, it makes the unisender work a little better.
Is that commercial available, or is that a custom?
Yeah, these are sold through ABR, but Tree Stuff and everybody else carries
what's it called?
ABR tether.
ABR tether.
For the unisender. And there's other ways to tether that. If you have an adjustable bridge, like my bridge, you can make the adjustments with the adjustable bridge as well. You just have to have some way. You have to have some way of being able to adjust the length of that step.
Okay.
So now with that, it seems like every time you do something, you have to be careful.
Well, that's just person to person that you have to adjust it, right? Once you've tuned it into you could have just a hard splice and
yeah,
never change.
You could just have it. And there are some times you can actually, but yeah, generally yes. There are some times when you can make this adjustment, bring it down really close if you wanted to use both hands to access the tree for a short distance to get around a branch. You might use it, but you don't need it that often. But you're right. You could say, okay, this is the exact length I want, and just build a loop or a tether or something like that that's not adjustable. And the same thing with the foot loop. Once you get that adjusted, you could have that as a set length. So we're going to set Judy up, and I've got a pencil rig here that I will use to kind of basically belay Judy, but also give her a little bit of exercise this morning, because she's going to be working really hard and going nowhere. But you know, it makes it really great to teach somebody how to do this, because we're face to face as she's climbing, so you can tell somebody to bigger steps, smaller steps, make your adjustments, and all of that. So she gets her foot ascender on there. Now we've got 200 feet of rope, so when this bag is empty, she'll be done with her climbing. You have 200 feet.
I'll give up before then.
I know, but don't take me forever if you're controlling it.
Now, is the CT foot ascender with steel mounting plate now?
The new ones are now, and I've broken 2 of them before, and they were this cast aluminum, I guess. And I noticed this one is steel, so I even though they kept breaking, I keep getting a new one. I like that CT. The good thing about a CT, go ahead.
I want to do a balance check.
Oh, you do?
You let me go.
The great thing about the CT is it locks onto the line really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where the new petzels, you can't lock them on. And if you do a rope walker, it seems like they come off really easy. So here she's set up. She's got her hand on the Unicender, and it'll stay on the Unicender all the time. Now she can back that up, and she can put her other hand on the Unicender as well. It's just not as efficient, and it's not as comfortable. So she has one hand up above the Unicender. The caution with that is if your foot ever slipped or whatever, if you touch the top of the Unicender right now, you'll start coming down. So if there's ever a reason to, if you had both hands up here, for example, if you had both hands up, for example, up here, and they slipped and came down on the top of the Unicender, you're going to be riding down the rope until you have enough sense to let go. When you let go, it'll take over and stop.
So if you have a safety knot, I guess it would catch in your foot first?
Yeah, I mean, you could put safety knots down there, but, you know, normally we don't climb with safety knots on SRTs.
Yeah.
So now she will go ahead and just start climbing, taking her steps. And there you go, keep going. So you can watch that, you know, she just basically is taking like a rope walker, but it's not a true rope walker. And it's not a true frog walker because she doesn't have a chest ascender on her. And it's just one step after another up the rope. Now, when she gets up and she's ready to come down, go ahead and set up for a descent. The rope comes up and over the top of the Unicender, and that engages the Unicender for the descent. And you always want to have control of the tail of your climbing line, the brake hand, on that line. Go ahead and engage it for the descent, and then she starts on down. And then she can stop that descent anytime she wants, and re-engage it for, go ahead and re-engage it for climbing back up. So there's re-engaged, and then she can start back up. Great thing about the Unicender is it does make that change over from ascent to descent so fast. You can just do it right now.
Can the Unicender accommodate a smaller rope?
There is a certain size, and if you start getting too small,
What's the smallest?
It slips.
It'll start to slip.
Okay, what's the smallest?
I'd have to look at it. Yeah, it's like 10 to 13 or something like that. And even
It will take a 10 millimeter rope.
I can't remember. We would have to look in.
Okay.
We'd have to look at the specs. And even on a brand new rope, sometimes new ropes have a coating on it.
Mm-hmm.
It may slip a little bit on a new rope. And the slip is actually a good thing, I think, because if you ever take a short fall, it's nice to have something that slips just a little bit before it engages really hard. Where if it's a hand ascender or a chest ascender, they'll engage right now and probably strip the sheath off with the rope.
One small disadvantage with the I don't remember what you called it, that short run, is that she never gets any rope weight to get it to feed really easy.
Not real well, but look at she hardly has
good,
she hardly has anything on there, but that CT still feeds through there. Go ahead and just keep walking, Judy. It still feeds through there pretty well without, you know, because you you'll see a lot of guys, they'll tie a chainsaw on the bottom and things like that. But even with that just laying there right now, it feeds through well enough that she's doing pretty good. But you're right, as soon as you get a little more weight on the tail, it feeds through a lot better.
Is it feeding through just because of that particular model?
Yeah,
Foot ascender?
ropes. I mean, if the rope gets really big, then it won't feed through quite as easily. But that the CT really worked well. It feeds well. It engages.
So
you know,
I see grabs better than the Pantene, right?
I like it better than the Pantene because the new Pantenes you can't put a beaner through there to lock them on and all that kind of stuff. And you get into a true rope walker, they come off really easy. You know, if your toes touching the trunk of the tree, they come off really easy. But some guys like them because then they can kick them off real fast. But I'm not that fast. Max probably would go for something really fast. But he's foot locking anyway, so he's like, I don't need a foot ascent.
Can I say something about the CT also?
Yeah.
For rescue purposes, the CT is far better because it has this, if you want to come out of it, you just grab this tab and pull it, and you can take it off your foot. So I had my first foot ascender rescue this summer. A woman was going up, and she made the mistake of decided, with a foot ascender on, she wanted to start coming down. So she just grabbed her brakes and started coming down, and it flipped her inverted. Yeah, she just flipped right upside down.
She's doing the pretzel.
Yeah.
The pretzel.
Yeah, and she was pretty cool about it. She said, I think something's wrong here. And I turned over, and she was inverted. And I said, yeah, something's wrong. I had the CMI foot ascenders on with the straps. I had troubles getting to the straps to loosen the straps. I was just about ready to pull a blade out to cut the straps. And I finally got her out of it. But with this one here, it's just, you grab the orange tag right here, and you just pull it real hard.
It loosens it,
Yeah, it loosens it. And if you don't have it tied off, you pull it hard here, then you can start slipping it off immediately. So that's one thing I really like about it. I'm going to be switching over to this one.
I like it. Just makes it easier to bend over and get it off too. You know.
Yeah. So here I am.
You got that little gut thing going on, you know, and it's after lunch and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a conspiracy. They keep moving the ground further away. It used to be you just reach down and touch it. Now it's like, oh God.
Yeah. But the CT and.
What do you tuck your strap?
I usually tuck it up underneath my shoelaces.
Okay.
And she had it.
This is where I tuck it. I'll show you where I tuck it. I tuck it
Oh yeah,
right
on the
here.
other side.
Yeah, right over here.
Yeah, for me, because I have these.
Yeah.
Groups that have tucks in it.
Okay, very good.
All right, let's watch Judy just climb for a little while until she gets tired.
Another 100 feet.
But you could sit here all day long and watch somebody climb. You know, and if somebody wanted to get exercise, and there's two of you going, it just makes it really, makes it great.
Just know, I won't do anything. I'll be too scared. The good thing about this is you can adjust your step. I like smaller steps. I don't get tired that easily. If I do long steps, I'm pulling more. You can adjust it, you can personalize it.
And I will say one thing too, because this is an active system, you'll notice that every time she takes a step, there's a little bit of flop that develops in the connection to the harness. Flop is not a good thing. That's why that's why I like any kind of a cinched anchor, cinched connection and stuff. But with this, you're going to have flop.
Okay.
And so you need to manage it. And the way that I've managed it on this, so that nothing gets in the way of this connection, is that I'm using a captive eye on a carabiner right there. And then also I this is just some rubber tubing that comes off a big shot. And you just cut it out into a little saddle. And now it doesn't flop around and nothing's over here hitting the lock on the carabiner. Everything stays away from that connector on the carabiner. So as these things move around, it's like, okay, it moves around, but it's not able to really do anything. So I'm okay with that.
You can also make a heavy-duty rubber band out of like bicycle inner tubes and use it around the carabiner and over the second one and then loop through again so it's they don't move.
I mean, you could tape it on electrical tape. There's a lot of different, but you do want to manage that flop. And I think you should manage that flop on any climbing system, whether it's a Blake's hitch or whatever you're climbing on. Make sure that your carabiner stays in its proper orientation. This is one of these Hydra or Rook swivel pulleys, and if you notice, they've designed the eyes on these pulleys so it also manages the flop. Now, if I drop Judy right now, I could show you, but I'm not going to drop her, I'd be in trouble. But when this has slack in it, it doesn't allow this carabiner to move around. If you remember Pestle with their zigzag, they had a real problem because it had basically some flop and misorientation. A climber took a little fall, and because it was oriented sideways in the connector, it broke the connector. And so Zigzag went through a huge recall on that. And it would have all been avoided if it had been in the proper orientation. But
And what saddle do you have on? A Yellow Jacket? Okay.
all right, see how that doesn't let that move around? I mean, it'll go this way, which is okay, but it doesn't let it. I have to physically move that around. Anyway, so that's the Mumford modified frog walk.
Good.
It is a great.
Like it.
It is a great system for going up the tree.
How about the
Thank you, Judy. Yes.
Mumford modified monkey machine there? 4 amps.
And the RopeMaster. Yeah, great exercise.
What is the orange spool, plastic spool?
That's just some modifications. If you do use a Unicender is great for going up and down a rope, but when it comes to setting up a 3-to-1, anyway, if you go to set up a 3-to-1 for a limb walk, for coming back on a limb walk, it just doesn't do that very well. And for tending your rope, without this pulley on there, it just doesn't tend very well. It's not like some devices that tend so well.
So that's a Mumford modification?
Yeah, so we just, and I saw somebody else put on a sheath similar to that, so that's what I put on there. And this is a drum that I designed to put on there. But basically,
what is that called again? That red thing?
The Unicender.
Unicender.
Yeah, it's Rock Exotica makes it. It was designed by Morgan Thompson.
And which part's the drum you modified?
This part, and what I did is powder coated this whole thing, so you don't find them red. This is red because I powder coated it. And this top part is a metal object that I designed to make it a lot smoother, and there were some other things to it. But
because usually you don't go down this way.
yeah, normally you do go like this, but all they had is this plate across the top, and it would really put some wear on the rope right there. Now you can see this is the part that takes all the wear. The Unicender is about $275, and so if you're wearing out these internal clutches, what would happen is these small points of contact would wear very quickly. And when those wear out, you got to buy a new Unicender. This drum attachment, you can take it off if it wears out, and it never will. But it takes all the wear. When you do a descent, it takes most of the heat, so all the friction's going on here. Any of the friction that's coming across here is not going under these little plates. And so you get a lot more mileage out of your Unicender. And it's a lot smoother, too.
Did you fasten it or did you TIG weld it?
No, all I did is I put it on with rivets, some epoxy and rivets. Because when it's in use, it's being pulled down and held tight anyway. It just kind of keeps it there when it's not being used.
And the tether is called what again?
That's an AVR tether.
AVR?
Yeah, like Wiley says, you can make your own custom length and stuff. But, and I don't climb on this a lot. I used to climb on it all the time, but it's still a pretty good system.
Ron Reese has a great video on making an adjustable tether for the Texas, but it's the same kind of ideas. You actually use a little split length for a fair lead, so you can just pull against it and just shorten it up or lengthen it as need be, using a Blake's.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I like it.
I have.
You know, on long ascents, climbing tall trees, stuff like this, you know, it's just not the greatest device for limb walks and things like that. But
Do you ever
for
use it for SRT? I mean, for DR?
What about the climbing
yeah,
with
once in a
boats?
while. You know, I like I said, I don't use a lot, but if you want to do DdRT with it, all you're doing is connecting this other leg, and with DdRT you can just squeeze to descend on it. But yeah, you're right on for a DdRT system too. So it does have a lot of use.
It's very efficient. It's so easy to learn.
Yeah, it is easy to learn, and it is very efficient.
You just have to be a little coordinated, and that's it.
And like I say, if you had a concern with a brand new climber that you wanted to make sure they didn't just accidentally slide down the rope, what you can do is you can put a friction hitch on this end and connect it to a D-ring so that they have to activate that friction hitch. And if they ever let go of everything, the friction hitch will keep them from coming down. So.
Well, actually, if they let go of everything, it's going to catch.
Generally, sometimes not. If it's looped over the top, there might be just enough weight on there to keep everything, to keep those plates squeezed together, and they'll just keep going down.
At least with kids, they grab hold tighter because they think you should grab something if you're falling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's something to be trained, that muscle memory to let go.
Yeah, I mean, my little one, the little 4-year-old shaking out every 2 feet in hers.
Yeah,
She'll
exactly.
grab and, I mean, but she doesn't have it where she can do her own moving the knot.